Look, I've talked about this, and I'll say this again. Here were our choices. Our choices was Brittney or no one at all. Bringing home one American or no American at all. And that's
a professional athlete. We gave up a prolific arms dealer who was convicted of trying to kill Americans, who was called the Merchant of Death.
The professional athlete is also an American citizen. So let's not forget that. Who deserved
an American citizen.
And so and I've explained how the Russians have illegally totally illegitimately treated his situation. I've been very clear on that. We've laid that out for you. And again, the president felt that this was an opportunity to bring Brittney home. He is going to continue to do everything he can to bring Paul Whelan home.
This Brittney Griner issue is a great exhibit of how American politics in this day and age is totally about perception. I mean, right here, the reporter clearly asks, how can we release an arms dealer nicknamed the Merchant of Death for a basketball player? And the White House spokeswoman, she just said that this was the best deal we got. Well then, in that case, how about no deal? She also went on to say that Russia was illegally imprisoning the Marine by the name of Paul Whelan. Well, in that case, why negotiate a bad hand with a country that's not even playing fairly? Unless, based on perception, this is actually a good hand for America. I mean, Brittney Griner, she just checked, 3 points off the victim totem pole. Think about it. She's black, she's gay, and she's a woman. Wait, I'm not too sure about that last one. Paul Whelan now, unfortunately, he's just a white man who served his country as a Marine. And another person the media hasn't mentioned much is a Mr. Mark Vogel. This man was detained months before Brittney, back in, I believe, August of 2021, for possession of 17 grams of weed, which he claims was for medical use. Now, right here, his childhood friend, Jeff Zarnik, he states, he wants the U.S. State Department to classify the 61-year-old as being wrongfully detained. Why has he not been given that? In order to move forward, he needs that status. And it's been too long. It's been a year and a half. And it was something that was granted to Brittney Griner within a month. Wow. I mean, really, wow. What will Arsenio Hall say to this?
Oh, these are things that make you say.
Sounds like to me that Brittney Griner is receiving some type of privileged status. And the evidence of this privileged status is that the media will lie on your behalf. Kind of like this right here.
Well, when the news first broke, it's just super upsetting. Obviously, yes. The fact that an athlete can be snatched like that, really for nothing.
Brittney Griner represents everything in this country. She's female, she's LGBTQ, she's black, and she's extraordinary. She's excellent. She's overcome. She's an icon. She's done everything you can do in her sport and more, and yet she still wasn't safe. She was snatched off of a plane and treated like trash.
Snatched off a plane? Snatched up for nothing? What the f***? It was clearly documented on surveillance video and recording that Brittney Griner, she broke the law in Russia. But of course, a lie helps the narrative. So therefore, we're gonna go with the saying that she was wrongfully treated. And don't get me wrong, the law in Russia for a position for something like this is excessive in my opinion. And I also believe that Brittney Griner was used as a political pawn by Russia. But like the saying goes, when you're in Rome, you do whatever, you do the hell you want to do. Especially if you're a privilege. And where else can a WNBA player's privilege be overglorified? But of course, ESPN.
Soon thereafter, I flipped on the news and then I saw that powerful image of President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Sherelle Griner, and they talked about how important this moment was. And I would like to say that this is very emblematic because what Brittney Griner represents just simply by existing as a black queer woman, the message that the world sees is that you are worth fighting for. You are worth securing, situations that might be precarious. We're going to be here and make sure that you can come back home. That to me was a huge message.
Not just that you're not new to it, we're really good at it. Like, I don't think any group of athletes is better at mobilizing behind the cause and getting something done than the WNBA has shown itself to be for the last 2.5 years. Like, it's something that I'm not the first person to say, but you really can't say it enough. And the way that you saw people organize and push and seeing the logos on the floor and everything else, nobody's better at doing these things than the WNBA.
Would ultimately get released. But what it comes down to is that she's home. Pressure was brought to bear. The United States obviously had been working behind the scenes for quite a long time. The Biden administration is to be applauded in all of this because they put forth their due diligence. And it's important to recognize the fact that while we bring up Brittney Griner, we also bring up Paul Whelan from this perspective. The Biden administration said that they worked diligently and they pushed to try to get him released as well. And Russia was steadfast in their position that the only person that they were going to release at this particular moment in time was Brittney Griner. They didn't forget about anybody else. They tried to get other Americans to come home as well. But Russia refused to relent in that regard. So it was either Brittney Griner or nothing.
Stephen A. Smith said that the Biden administration should be applauded. Applauded for what? Granted, yes, it's nice that Brittney Griner is released. And trust me, I have no complaints for Brittney being free. But that's not the question here. The question here is, at what cost? I mean, notice how they won't even mention who she was exchanged for. Victor Bout, who earlier was referred to as the Merchant of Death. This man was caught trying to sell over 100 missiles to a Colombian guerrilla group who will then use these missiles to kill U.S. troops. And we exchanged this man for a basketball player who pleaded guilty for breaking Russian law? Please, make it make sense. I mean, they even made a movie about this guy, Lord of War, starring Nicolas Cage. I mean, think about it. What do you think this guy's gonna do when he gets back to Russia? What, advocate for the end of the war in Ukraine? And do we not see the uncomfortable irony here? President Biden releases an arms dealer while at the same time pushes legislation to reduce our Second Amendment rights to bear arms. What am I missing here? Well, one thing we're not missing is how much of a coincidence that, at a time when a high-profile lesbian is being released, at the same time, U.S. government is passing the Marriage Equality Act, which is about to be signed into law. Arsenio?
Oh, these are things that make you say,
Can someone say, I mean, tell me, what am I missing here?